So that was from one of Shlomo Carlebach's many albums. He feels kind of hoarse today, so although he's got his guitar ready to go, we've been trying to rest his throat so he can maybe he can sing a little tonight. He's going to be at the Brotherhood Synagogue down at 28 Gramercy Park tonight at 6 o'clock, and invites all of you to come and bring a candle. Also, Rabbi Meir Fund is here, and those of you who are thinking of plunging back into tradition could go to his synagogue at the Young Israel of Avenue J in Brooklyn. Is there a phone number they can call you, Rabbi, there?
338-8442.
8442.
Maybe you'll knock at my phone.
You can call late at night also. You can call late at night. You can call any time.
If you can knock at my phone number too.
Okay.
It's 235.
235.
No. What's the number? Columbus CO5.
CO5.
4300.
4300. And that's Shlomo's number. So
it's 265 4300. Yeah, crazy.
Okay.
Got my own number.
265 4300.
Right. This is actually my answering service because I'm leaving for it. I'll be back on the 26th. So if anybody wants to contact me, just leave your number and please. I'd like to share my house with you, really.
So I wanted to ask you to read some prayers and to really try and get on even further up on the level of prayer.
Brother Lex, you're my master. You know, according to the Talmud, wherever you are, you have to do what the master of the house says. Then give me my guitar and let's try my best to have sing this prayer.
We haven't got an extra mic here, so can you hold your guitar up and sort of?
Yeah.
I'm
sure it'll be beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, friends, according to Kabbalistic tradition, whenever you do something, goes without saying, you have to say that you're doing it for the glory of God and to bring God's light into the world. So it is like a two-way street. When I do something good, I lift myself up to God, and I want God to come down to me. You know, when you love somebody and you see them on the other corner, you run half the way and they run half the way. So each time I do a good deed, it's like meeting God half the way. And then the question is, where are we going from there? Sometimes my friend says to me, come to my house. And sometimes I say to my friend, something, it's true, your house is more beautiful. But if you would come to my house needs you so much. Yeah. So Hanukkah is basically the day when I say to God, okay, I'm ready to kindle your light, but please God, come to my house. I need your light so badly in my house. I'm bringing God's light down absolutely to this world as it is. You see, the special thing about Hanukkah, it's an ordinary weekday. It's not like all the other holidays when I'm not permitted to work. Like I'm leaving this world, I'm going back to God's house. I meet him half the way. He says, okay, come to my house. Hanukkah is coming down. So let me first sing to you the words here. B'shem yichud kudshu b'richu shchintei v'yachet shem kol yudke v'vovke b'shem kol Yisroel Harei bo lekayem mitzvahs ad lo kazmeh Chanukah v'saken asher rosho v'melko emelyoel Yirowutzoi שיהיה es rotzai lefonecho Haili yoizai lo mitzvah lo gaznecha Hanukkah ki nisakti kol hasoidais Hanoi ruvim Hashem rasumim bo 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 V'sale lefonecho Im kavonas mais mitzvah zois anasim al yedei b'nei yididecho hamachavnir kol shemoisecho hagdoishim horuyev lo boi badlo kazu Hayom mishom yushba shefa li ani avdecho Shloime ben Pesach Ulishti Ne'ile bastobi Ole biti Este neshama ta'ira shlucha Bas ne'ila Ole biti Chanan et olo amru nafshi Bas ne'ila Oile Hashem Elokai Yagiacha V'Vashki So this is what it says, Almighty the Master of holiness, the one, blessed be He. In the name of all of Israel, I'm praying and I'm begging you, God, please let me fulfill the holiness of the mitzvah of kindling the lights of Hanukkah. To fix the light on the highest place in heaven, to fix from the highest to the lowest, to fix the light of the world. So I'm begging you, I'm praying before you, God, the God of my fathers. Let this moment be a holy moment and a good moment before you, God in heaven, one and only one. Let it be considered by you when I kindle the light, as if I would understand all those awesome, infinite secrets of your light. As if I would know all that which is sealed, all that which is hidden, all that which is shining and concealed in your light. And may it stand before you and reach you and remain before you, my deed, my mitzvah. Let it be as if I would have done it in the same holiness as your children, the holy Maccabees. When they kindled the light in the holy temple before you, and they fixed heaven and earth and heaven, when they fixed the whole world before you. And please shine your light into me, I, Llama, the son of Pesach. And please let the light shine into my wife, Ne'ilah, the daughter of Chaya. And please shine into my daughter, to my child. to our child. Esther, Neshama Tahira Shlucha, the daughter of Ne'ilah, and shine into my daughter, my child, our child. Chana Nedoram Ranafshi, the daughter of Ne'ilah, to taste your light, the light of life, your eternal life, your infinite light, your heavenly light, that light which shines, because God, you are my only light, you're my candle, only you, you're the only one, you're the only one who can bring light into my darkness. B'noya Madain Eleinu Ma'aseh Yadeinu Koinen Oleinu Ma'aseh Yadeinu Koinen Ehu. May the deeds of my hands be filled with your sweetness. May every deed I'm doing be everlasting. May it be fixed in my heart and my soul, in my body and my being. And may your light shine upon us. Amen.
In this Hanukkah time, the God even came down into Shlomo's hoarse voice and was able to allow him to express that. You know, it's funny. A funny thing happened to me in the Catskills recently. I was there with a Tibetan Llama, and we were driving to get some supplies, and I was talking to him about Judaism, telling him what profound tradition it is. And he's a very strong man of tradition, this particular Lama. He's not one of your newfangled Lamas, and he's a very old-fashioned Lama. And I was sitting there, and we were parked in the parking lot of a supermarket, and in came this car, and there was a rabbi in the car, all dressed up like a real Hasidic rabbi. And I was pointing. I said to Rinpoche, look, this is what I was talking about. Now you have ways of perceiving people. Now look at that man and see how powerful his tradition is, how deep. And so Rinpoche was looking at him, and the guy got out of the car, and I was amazed. This is one man I know. It was Milt Dreisinger's father, Rabbi Dreisinger.
Unbelievable.
So I got out of the car and went over to him, and he recognized me, and we actually embraced right there. And he said, there's something in Hebrew, when you have the gift of encountering someone. Is there something like that? He explained to me that
the special blessing when you haven't seen somebody you love for 30 days.
Maybe that was it.
That was him.
He said
probably,
something. And so I brought him over, and he and Rinpoche we got in the front of our car together, the three of us, and they began talking.
Yeah.
And Rinpoche talks a little bit of English, and they got talking about their shuls.
Yeah.
Because this rabbi had ever since a young man, he'd spent maybe 10 years in studying the shul together, and to shul, and the Rinpoche had started when he was like 6 years old, and he'd studied for 20 years in the shul. And they started talking about how cold their shuls were because the rabbi they didn't have enough wood always, for the fires,
Yeah.
And then of course the Rinpoche was in Tibet, whereas they don't have any wood anyway to build fires. And so most of the time they spent talking about how cold their shuls were, and how they felt totally in tune with each other. They were at that moment, that they were members of the same house of God. And I think that something like that is something like the training, the actual flavor of the training, the actual flavor of experience is what causes people to feel that there's this one house of God. And as you point out, there are different ways of doing things, and I think we should be very careful to maintain those special different ways. I mean, I'm not in favor of blending everything together. And neither of these rabbis, this Tibetan Rebbe or this Catskill man, they would not have agreed on a lot of points. I knew that, but somehow there was a tremendous feeling of brotherhood between them when they were talking about the suffering that they went through to learn the tradition, to immerse themselves in the tradition.
Obviously, God needs a lot of traditions in this world. In every country, every climate, there's a different tradition how to serve God.
And sometimes it's cold, It's in that sense, sometimes a certain amount of suffering and discomfort are involved. And I think a lot of say let's take Jews, but also we can take Christians, the young ones, people coming along who've moved away from their tradition. They didn't like the discomfort of what the sacrifices involved in having to immerse yourself in it. They think they could make a more comfortable thing outside their tradition. And this, I think this is going to change when people realize how bitter sub-zero cold it is outside a tradition. They haven't realized that, and not everyone realized that yet. But when they get a glimpse of the fact that tradition is where the real spiritual warmth and sanity and survival lies, and they realize they've been living in sub-zero weather, without knowing it, they may start coming back in. And I hope many people listening today will not only really think about moving deep back into their Jewish things, but if they come from another branch of the family of Abraham, if they're Christians, let them plunge back in there, and with the same feeling and the same intensity that Shlomo is able to express in his tradition. And if they really sincerely want to become Buddhists, let them take their Buddhist tradition that seriously, and not just look upon it as a kind of one aspect of their life. You say one of the enemies of the most subtle enemy of God. It's one that says, well, you make God just one aspect of your life. You don't have to make it the whole thing.
Lex, I think I agree with you always, but in one thing I don't agree with you. That people moved away from tradition not because it didn't feel comfortable. On the contrary, it was made too comfortable for them. Because basically take all young people, their father's so rich, and he tells them, all you have to do for God is one day a year, Yom Kippur, you go to shul and you leave there $10, and this is your relationship to God. They go out and they fight for civil rights, they fight for anything, because young people want not suffer, but they want to give something. They want to feel they did something. And I can only talk from my religion. What happened the last generation, they made it so easy to be a good person. They say, I'm a good person in my heart, I tell you something, I heard from it's a little joke, that why is it that so many, God forbid, people have heart attacks? So he said, because in former good days, everybody understood, if I want to serve God, I have to do a lot of things, right? Heavy work. Today, everybody says, I'm a good man in my heart, right? That means all the good deeds you put on your heart, right? It's too heavy for the heart. So you probably get a heart attack, But what I think, young people are ready to work like dogs day and night if you show them the way. And you see, it is not that they saw the tradition and they didn't like it, they never seen it. I can only talk for my religion. The tradition was never shown to 99% of our young people today. And listen, Lex, you're one of the few people in our generation who is really reaching so many young people today, and I'm sure you're high standing in heaven.
Listen, I think there are many more older people than young people listening right now, and I don't think we should put it right on the young people.
I mean young. Yeah, I don't mean young in years. Young means, according to me, anybody who wants to be better tomorrow is young.
In that sense, I agree with you. That it's too easy to say that it's just the young people. I mean, everyone today, there's some sort of ripening in the process, which may have to do with realizing what living in a secular world is. It takes you a while. At first, you feel good, you feel free, you feel that you don't have to bother with a lot of things. You have more mobility and all these things, and only gradually does it dawn on you that you're starving yourself, and that so maybe this is dawning on people, not just young people today, but people of all ages, and so I think that's a rather beautiful thought. That the grandparents are, as you pointed out, are kind of already there, but maybe now the parents and the children will come back together, not just the kids.
That'd be the highest thing in the world.
Wouldn't it be beautiful for a kind of very, very liberal, almost non-committed Jew and their kids who are like civil rights workers and atheists? Wouldn't it be beautiful for them to join hands and really go back into practice together?
I had a very deep experience this summer in Israel. We're building a little city, and by the way, I'd like to invite people all over the world who like to come to a little place in Israel, a real high spiritual community, and be there and be with us, stay there, or just come for a few weeks and study with us.
This beats Oroville.
And I want to tell you that this summer, a group of young kids came, and one of our girls, Rochel, asked, do you have a Hebrew name? She says, no, I didn't even know there's such a thing as having a Hebrew name. So anyway, this girl stayed, she liked it so much, and late at night I came back from a concert at 2 o'clock. The kids tell me, this girl has to leave tomorrow, but she wants to have a Hebrew name. So we got the whole village together, and outside the synagogue, and we give her a new name. We give her a name Pe'era, Menucha. Pe'era means to be God's pride, and Menucha means to find peace, bring God's peace into the world. And we blessed her, and everybody said some different blessings, and I said one thing to her. I blessed her that someday she should give her parents Hebrew names.
That's beautiful. People think, why is it that people are so interested in Findhorn? Which is an interesting place. I've had the people who founded it on, Peter and Eileen Caddy. They're good people, and it's not a bad place. But why wouldn't there be as much interest in your community in Israel? Maybe it's because they don't know about it. But why should? Here is first of all a tremendous center of holy power, and forget the secular viewpoint for a while, but that the Holy Land really is holy. There's no question about that. Just that, and I know that for certain because of my association with various holy places in India. It's true that God's power can be focused in a place, and so here you have a tremendously holy. And people are always talking about power spots and ley lines and all this stuff. And I don't want to sound like I'm becoming like I'm rejecting that. But why not also, at the same time you're talking about those things, why not go to places where you know that there's holy power focused, and it's not necessarily of the earth. I don't think the Holy Land is necessarily on some special magnetic field of the earth. It's not. It's where heaven is manifesting. It's where the transcendent is manifesting. It doesn't and the transcendent doesn't have to use magnetic powers to manifest. So the Holy Land, go there, and then here Shlomo has his community, and there's a young man here in the studio with us who's helping to build that. What's your name?
Yaakov. Yaakov is my top holy man, brother.
Yaakov is here.
Lex, you said it very beautiful. The way you.
Well, I can knock my. I mean, you say you're free to knock. Your own religion. I'm free to knock the New Age thing. That people.
But I want to tell you the way it's described in the Talmud, the holy places, in a very simple way. It says where heaven and earth kiss.
Mm. And very, very, very often people today are they're not that tuned. They're tuning into earth. They're tuning into where the earth is, say, prepared to kiss heaven. But they're really forgetting the whole other dimension, which is the transcendent has to come in, and there's no laws you can lay down about that. You can't. It has nothing to do with what appeals to our intellects, or what appeals to our minds, or appeals to our senses.
I would like to find a valid excuse for those people, if you permit me, by pointing out that the Holy Land has the ability to expand itself and to reach wherever those who want it to be there find themselves. Just as holy time can be expanded, holy space can also travel great distances.
Well, Shabbos itself,
right,
when practiced, is the Holy Land. There's no question about that.
A holy wedding is the Holy Land. Hanukkah is the Holy Land.
Yeah, the sacred tradition is it. I mean, just think, we could live in the Holy Land, if we were able to really awaken our feeling for a sacred tradition.
But I still would like all the people to come to our little moshav. Can I tell them what it is?
Yeah, tell them.
It is, in fact, this has to do with Hanukkah, because we're building this village right by the grave of the Maccabees. And it's very strange, there's so many holy places in Israel which everybody goes to, and the grave of the Maccabees, it's just completely forgotten. Nobody ever goes there. And it's on a hill. From that hill you can see very far, have the Holy Land, and it's just, there's something so special on that hill, and they're all buried in like a little cave that's covered with a stone. And as far as I know, it's one of the most peaceful places. It's just.
How many people are living in the village, or how many?
Right now we have about 93 people.
That's wonderful.
You see, what I am planning to do, and all those brothers and sisters who hear me over the radio, we need your support very badly. You know what it is? There is no real spiritual school on the Jewish tradition yet, on a Jewish level. There's a school you can learn a lot and know a lot, but it's not really a real soul school we don't have yet. And also something which is very deep in my heart, again, without saying anything bad. There are a lot of very, very holy daughters of Abraham, Isaac and Sarah and Rivka, all those holy girls, would like to bring a holy message. And the saddest thing is, our rabbis are so tight, they're so tight. And when you tell them that a girl wants to study also to be a spiritual leader, they blow their tops, And I would say like this, if for the last 2,000 years since we're in exile, if the man would have really transmitted the religion to the children, I would say we don't need the girls. But sadly now we did such a bad job. Our men teachers just really, I hate to say bad things, they didn't reach the kids. And maybe it's really time to let our sisters do something. So in that village, I will not call those girls rabbis, because I don't want to get into trouble with the rabbis. We'll call them messengers of light. We have a Hebrew name, Shluchot Rachmana. And I want you to know, brothers and sisters, really, I spoke to my top holy friend, Menachem Begin, was really like the great gate opener for the Jewish people. He gave us back the Holy Land. He opened gates to bring Sadat to the Holy Land. None of them did it, right? You see, the special thing about Menachem Begin is that, you see, if you love something completely, then you love the whole world, right? If you love something half, then some you like, some you don't like. He really loves Israel completely. And with this complete love, he really sends us messages of love to the Arabs, to all the people all over the world, and they really feel like coming. And basically, I'm going back to Israel tonight, and I'm going to talk to my friend and Holy Master Menachem Begin, because I want him to stand on top of this new yeshiva, new school of learning. And also something very important, there are a lot of non-Jewish brothers and sisters who would like to come to Israel and taste a little bit of the holiness of our teachings. There is no place for them. And this will be the most beautiful place, like to come and learn. And since it's by the grave of the Maccabees, we want to just become headquarters for light to the world.
I'm really happy to hear that news. I mean, we've been waiting for a book from Shlomo and a community from Shlomo. Looks like the community is happening, and I understand you and Barbara are working on a book, possibly.
Sure, hopefully.
Well, she's the only one who could really put the pressure on you to do that.
Listen, if there's anybody of brothers and sisters who's listening who is good on transcribing tapes, because I have so many tapes which, if someone would like to help us, even we would gladly pay, because it's a very heavy thing to transcribe tapes, because I'm not so good on writing, but I can talk into a tape, which I have hundreds of tapes. Someone wants to help us, please call us.
Yeah, and if someone wants to come visit the village, what's the name of it again?
Oh, the Moshav is very, very important. Very, very important. You can write to us. It's called Moshav, which is spelled M-O-S-H-A-V. One word, Meor, M-E-O-R. Modim, M-O-D-I-I-M. And Israel. And if you want to be very special, and you write Moshav, Meor Modim, near Lod, L-O-D. Or if you want to be super fancy, you can also, if you forget all this and you know how to write it, then just write Shlomo Carlebach. If you want to, care of Sheraton and Tel Aviv, because the manager there is my top right-hand man, and he'll always get me the letters. Sheraton, Tel Aviv. Anyway, I'll be now in Israel for 3 weeks, and if any of your brothers and sisters feel like writing me, dropping me a note, let me hear from you. But I'd love to see you in person. There's all kinds of lights. There's the light of a person, there's the light of the face, and then there's something deeper, the light of the eyes, which is the highest light there is, even deeper than the face. And Hanukkah Shabbos is the light of the face. On Shabbos, God gives us back the light of our face. On Hanukkah, God gives us back the light of our eyes. And if your eyes have light, and you look at a person, so much light is produced. And if we would only look at each other with the light of our eyes, with God's eyes. And strange, sometimes you shiver how beautiful the world is, so beautiful. And I just have to say it because I can't hold back that in the last 2 weeks the world has become so much more beautiful. For 30 years we children of Yitzchak are waiting to shake hands with Yishmael, with Ismail, our uncle. And something, it's unbelievable. The Zohar Kodesh says that Jacob met Esau, right? Those two brothers made up, one way or the other. But Yitzchak never met Yishmael. But this, it says in Zohar Kodesh, will happen before the Messiah is coming, at the end of days. That Yishmael will come. And I want to share this with you. Jacob met Esau not in Jerusalem. He met him at the borders of the Holy Land. But Yishmael and Yitzchak, the children of Yitzchak, are meeting Yishmael in Jerusalem. Because I want you to know that Jerusalem was made holy because Isaac was lying on the altar there before God. That's the holiness of Jerusalem. So obviously, our uncle and cousin Yishmael comes to visit us, the children of Yitzchak, in the holy city. And what was so beautiful about that meeting? Because the meeting was just so deep. It was not that suddenly Sadat and Begin decided to become good friends. When they met, they knew they loved each other all the time. They suddenly realized that they were always friends. Sadat met Arik Sharon, so to speak, the two arch-enemies of the Yom Kippur War, right? And when they shook hands, they realized they were always brothers. You know, they couldn't even understand how they could fight. I don't know if you read in the newspapers, one of the highest generals of the how do you call it, of the airplanes?
Air Force.
Of the Air Force, Oyzer Weizmann, the top general, you know, who knocked off in the Six-Day War the Egyptian Air Force. And, okay, so he met Sadat and they just became such good friends, you know. Unbelievable friends.
They're both children of Abraham, for heaven's sake.
That's unbelievable, yeah.
It's a... Shlomo, tell me what you think about this. When you say within the last couple of weeks, you felt a special feeling. The idea of the Messiah coming and the last days, I think that everyone in their spiritual evolution, if they're fortunate, if they go far enough, they get to a point where they really feel that they are living in the last days, and they really honestly feel it. And whatever happens in the world, whether they happen to be living in whatever century they happen to be living, whatever happens in the world becomes an actual sign that this is coming about, and not just not just a fantasy, but real level of spiritual experience, and in that sense, perhaps as they as a real holy person approaches their own death, they feel somewhat the same way. What do you think about that?
You mean about the coming of the Messiah?
Well, I mean the coming of the Messiah as actually in
every person's life.
It's a kind of a level of experience that people have that for instance, in your case, or maybe you'll begin to start seeing the last days. Actually seeing what appear to you to be the last days, and up to this point, maybe you've had a tremendously strong faith, that this is possible. It's possible that the last days would come. They haven't come for thousands of years, but it's possible that could be in our time.
Yeah.
And maybe you even prayed, very sincerely for that. But maybe you'll get to the point of actually seeing it happen.
I think you see the beautiful thing is in Hebrew, the great day is not happening when it happens. It's coming close. It's called Llama, but it means the world which is getting closer, 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 closer. Each time I do something good, I'm getting closer to that world. Each time I do something wrong, I move back.
But what about actually seeing that world come into being?
I think everybody who opens his eyes, I tell you something, as far as I'm concerned, it's not that because there are airplanes we're getting together, it's because we are getting together at the airplanes. Right? It's not because there was television we're getting together, it's because we're getting so close, and I want to see what's going on in China. I got to have a television, right? I got to see what's going on. We love each other so much. And God is giving us, like right now we have the whole world in our hands, right? Tonight I'm sitting here, tomorrow night I'll be giving a concert in Brussels, the next day in Israel. I want you to know I was in Russia. I walked the streets of Russia. According to politics, Russia and Israel are the greatest enemies, right? The man on the street is sweet like sugar, is my brother, my sister, so much love. Germany is supposed to be our arch enemy, okay, You walk on the street in Germany, you see really beautiful people walking there. So that means the world is getting better. The world is getting better every second. Something like you and I 100 years ago, we wouldn't be talking like this. Because if imagine there would be a radio station, someone talks about Buddhism, I as a Jew would say, listen, you can get me on that station. And or if I'm Jewish, I would say, listen, keep your Buddhist stuff out of here, just that's the creation of God's name, the whole thing. The greatest thing is happening, that God reveals not only His name to us, God is revealing His oneness to us in the most unbelievable way. And something, the other side is always a sign that the good side is coming. Let's say, for instance, we see some of the marriages are breaking up. A marriage is carrying God's oneness. And like the other side wants to break up God's oneness so much. Because on the other hand, God's oneness is becoming so strong. Because it's very strange. Those marriages who break up were never so close. But those who are making it, they're so much closer than ever before. And again, parents and children is the highest God wants. What's God's relationship to the world? Father and children. And the highest, I always say, why doesn't it say that you should love your children? It says love God, love your parents. Why doesn't it say love your children? Because this is utmost me being God, right? Loving my children, this is like the most God-like thing I can do in this world, right? And so much oneness. What I want to tell you is that the way it looks to me, like every person, when they're honest, they see the great day right around the corner. And if you had more open hands, more open eyes, more open ears, see what it is? It's some people don't want to believe it because it's too beautiful to be true. They're afraid to be disappointed. Like,
but when it begins to appear to you, you can't help but believe. It's not a question of believing it anymore.
It's just there.
It's
you still need believe, because I tell you, I don't want ever anything happen to me which you don't have to believe in. I always want God to give me something, not only make me see it, make me believe in it also. Because believing is the highest knowledge there is. Believing is not something I don't understand. It's okay, God, I trust you. You know what you're doing. Believing is the highest God knowledge there is, because knowledge is in my head. Believing is my toenails, everything there is, completely. When I look at my baby, I look at her and I believe in her. When I come to my house, I know it's my house and I believe it's my house. And I'll tell you something very beautiful. When you love somebody very much, so you say, I love you. When you kiss somebody, you close your eyes, right? You know what that means? When I kiss you, I believe you, give you over my belief. I don't see you, but I believe you're here. This is even deeper than anything in the world. And when the Messiah is coming, the world will be filled with God knowledge and God belief. Better be fast.
We've been talking with the door for God, Shlomo Carlebach, and we've got to run now. Maybe we'll hear a little bit more music of Shlomo's as we're going out. It's been really nice being with both you and Rabbi Funt. Thanks for coming along.
Good Yom Tov, good Chanukah. Shalom to everyone, to the whole world. Lot of light.
B'chayim Meshulayim Ezo